Hey Richie, just going over your email that you've sent to Chris. You've got a triangle tile pattern that you need to work with, and I see from your email that sounds like there's a mix of right angle triangles and square shaped tiles that you have to put in. Of course, you're having some trouble putting those triangle tiles in. So I've seen plans like this a couple times before, so we figured out in the past how to work with these kind of situations. So the first thing you're probably noticing is that if you go to try and put the triangle tile in, so I do actually have a couple triangle tiles in here, and you can see they're not appearing. So the only tiles that you can put directly into rooms are basically square and rectangle tiles. The way we work with the triangle tiles is we have to make a tile pattern that will accept them. All right, so I'm going to show you the type of pattern you need to make to be able to accept the triangle tiles, and the upside is that it will also accept the square tiles. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is, well, you've probably already done this, but you want to make sure you've got your tiles created. So if I just come into my product list, I'll show you the ones I've made. So I have either a square tile and I have a triangle tile. A couple colors for the triangle, just one color for the square. You'll, of course, have all the correct colors and things in there. I'm just going to use these as an example today. So we need to start off by making our tile pattern. The way we do that is we come up to the Room tab, and we come over here to the Custom Pattern section. So it's quite simple. All we have to do here is put 4 triangles in. So we want to click on the triangle option down the bottom. It's come in as an equilateral. So all we have to do is pick up one of the corners, stretch it out this way, and it will snap into a right angle triangle. Then you want to click on one of these edges, hit the triangle button again. It will extend another triangle out. Once again, we just drag down to turn it into a right angle triangle, and it's rinse and repeat at this point. I'm just going to go and do the other 2. So there we go. That will be the basis of our pattern. All right. So as you're doing it, just one thing, you probably would have noticed that there were some numbers in there. All right. You can ignore those numbers. Those numbers are purely to indicate ratios. Once we actually insert the pattern, we will be able to resize it to fit whatever tile we have. So we've got it set up like that. We'll hit next. It will then ask you how would you like to tessellate the pattern. There's a couple of ways it can tessellate in this case. We want to run with this one, obviously, so we'll make sure that one is selected, and then we'll hit next. Then it wants you to basically just control the size of the edge. Don't worry too much about that. As I said before, they're just like ratios. We can set this properly once we're actually inserting it. So next again. Wants to know what the main edge is, so we're going to pick on this one because this is the one that's going to have, I think there were 500 in your case. Yep, that's what you have in your email. So we want this edge here to be the primary one. It means when we insert the pattern, that'll be the edge that we tell Measure how long it is, and it will scale the rest of the pattern based on how big that edge is. So we have that selected. We're going to hit next. Obviously, we have to give it a name, so I'm going to call it Diamond Pattern for Richie. We'll call it that, and we'll do finish. Okay, so there we go. Here is our diamond pattern. All right, so I already have the room selected, so I can just go straight on to inserting the pattern. If you did not have the room selected, you would have to close this window, click on the room, and then come back into. You would have to come back into QuickTile at that point. The tile pattern would have saved, so you will still be able to get in there, no problem. But I guess when you go do this for yourself, just make sure you have the room selected, and it will let you run right through. So, got this guy selected. We'll do insert. All right. So here's what I was saying before. It sized it up initially. It's assumed 0.3. All we have to do here is over here type in 0.5, and you can see it's scaled the other edges just like that. Then we hit next. And it would like to know what tile do you want to put in here. Now we have 4 spots we have to fill. Initially, I would put the majority tile in. So whatever tile is most common out of this pattern here, put that in first, because that is going to save you work later on. Basically what's going to happen is it's going to generate the pattern with whatever we fill in here, one color, let's say, across the the entire room, and then we're going to go through and paint the right tiles in. And you'll see how we do that in a moment. So choose product, let's just put the light green one in. And if you're wondering why we didn't just draw two triangles together, it's because of the way the pattern is shaped. The triangles are positioned with this orientation here, but then they're they have a different orientation here, so they're there's a bit of 4-point symmetry or 8-point symmetry going on here. So that's why we did 4 of those tiles. So there we go. All the tile spots are filled. Just so you're aware, do not click the Resize Tile button. That will open up the Legacy Tile Editor, which it can give you a little bit more control if you need it, but it's a lot more awkward to work with. So don't click that button, just keep clicking Next and work through these steps. All right, now don't worry about the lay direction here. I know this room is on a tilt, and you're probably tempted to tell it to align a certain way, but we'll sort that out a different way. Don't worry about setting that here. So we'll do Apply. And there we go. So the pattern's dropped in. You can kind of see from the way the grid's showing up there that this is exactly what we want. Now the first step is to make the grid lean the correct way so it matches the pattern behind it. All right, so the way we do that is we pick on this edge here, because this edge is parallel to the direction of that grid, or the alignment of that grid. And then we're going to come back to the Home tab, and you want to hit on the Lay Alongside tool. Sometimes you may need to set the lay direction to run something like south, and then come back in and lay alongside, and there you go. It's now adjusted the grid so it's on a lean, just like the grid is. Now the next thing we need to do is align the grid. So it's orientated the right way, but it's not lining up properly. That's quite simple to do. So with the room selected, we would come along to the Room tab, and you want to hit on this option here. It might say relative to room, it might say automatic. Whatever it says, just go into this drop down here, and you want to pick relative to room. When you do that, you'll get a crosshair that appears, and this lets you choose where the pattern begins. Now, initially you want to just click somewhere and observe which part of the pattern is moved to that spot. And then based on what happens, you then can move to the right part of the underlying PDF's pattern and click in the right spot so that the pattern grid lines up with the tiles you've got, or the colored tile pattern you've got on your PDF. If you zoom out a little bit, you'll check if everything lines up, and it looks like it does in this case. And of course, assuming it's scaled accurately enough, it should line up like that. If it's not lining up, you might want to review the scale of the plan and just check that it wasn't out by just a little bit. So there we go. We will escape out of that. So the next thing we need to do is draw the tiles on. Now you did mention that in your email that you had some square tiles to put in as well. Now I can't see any square tiles here, but I'm assuming what you mean by that is where you have two tiles of the same color. Maybe you wanted to put a square tile in there. Either way, we will be able to work with both. So what we're going to do is come into the tile editor. Currently, all the tiles in here are that light green one. All right, so tile editor. Okay, so if you look up here, the tile pattern is made up of 4 parts, 4 layers effectively, corresponding to each of the 4 different orientations that we have in that tile pattern. You don't really need to worry about this, but what you're going to notice is that every time you place a tile, it's going to look like it jumps from different, across these different grids or these different layers. Don't worry about that. That's just the way the system works. You don't really have to do anything different. Just don't be surprised if you see that jumping around. So the first thing you want to do is come over here to where you can pick your tile. You want to go in here, and what you'll notice is that we can pick both the square tiles and the triangle tiles. So if I pick on maybe the lily pad colored tile, we do OK, and then we pick up the single tile painting tool, you'll see that I can choose, you'll see the little red dotted line dancing around there, so I can choose wherever I want to put it. So maybe there and there, and this is what I mean about it jumping around. It looks like it's selecting different tiles. That's just it jumping to the grid or the layer that each different tile belongs to. Don't worry too much about that. Now, as far as square tiles are concerned, because the grid we have, So by grid, I mean where the dotted lines are going. So they're the different shapes that this pattern will accept. The only requirements as far as placing tiles are concerned is that they will fit on the grid. So for example, a 600-600 tile would not fit on the grid. It would not line up properly. So therefore, we wouldn't be able to place one of those. But a square tile, 500-500, will fit in this grid. It will line up nicely. Obviously, it'll override that middle diagonal, but it will line up nicely. So that's why this works. We can pick up the square tile, and you'll see that I can place that wherever I want, and you'll see the grid line in the middle disappears. It is completely overriding that middle one and letting me place the full square tile. So using that method, you can work your way across the entire plan. Something you may want to do to make it easier is clear all of the tiles out to begin with, and you can do that with this option here, so clear all tile. But the catch with that option is that it will only operate on the current layer. So you would have to go into each layer and clear all the tiles out. Now the reason that might be a better option is then you know that everything's going to be blank, and it should be reasonably obvious when you place a tile that you've placed a tile. So when you do that, the grid is going to disappear, but that's okay. It's still there. It's just not visible. So we could kind of come back, pick up a triangle tile again, and you'll see that I can place that. And as you can kind of see from there, it's quite obvious when you've placed a tile. So that should mean that you should be able to work across the entire plan, and it should be obvious if you'd missed a tile somewhere. Something you may also want to keep in mind is the transparency settings down the bottom here. So depending on the way you bias the transparency settings, it will become more or less obvious that you have tiles and spots. When you paint them on, you probably want to have it on a lower transparency so you can actually tell what the colors are, but then when you're checking, have I missed anywhere, then you probably want to dial it up so it's quite opaque. So it should really stand out if you're missing something. So you'll see if I exit the tile editor, it is very obvious that I have missed out all this area over here. So that should allow you to work through your entire plan. I think that's all you'd need to know there. So try that out. If you need any more help, please reach back out to us and we'll see what we can do. But aside from that, you have a great day. See ya.